Today, I'm tackling a problem I've had for the last couple of years, and it's even caused a couple of injuries. Ever since we moved out to the country, our dogs absolutely love to be outside, and because of that, they've become full-time outdoor dogs. And sadly, I should say dog now, as we lost two of our dogs at 18 years of age this past year. But our youngest, Emma, who's still sporting her winter coat, has still got a lot of years left in her. And even though she has her own climate-controlled apartment in our laundry room, she occasionally still likes to scratch on the door to see what's going on inside. Which has not only created a little bit of damage on the weather strip, but it's also created a little bit of damage on the door, which I tried to fix with this metal plate. So our solution has been to put this baby gate right in front of our door, which inevitably has caused a lot of tripping. But after making a trip to the Po and picking up a few wet bananas, I think I've got a solution for this. So join me today as I create a custom doggy gate for our back door in this project build. So I don't know what it is about Home Depot, but I couldn't find a single straight deck board that didn't feel like it had been soaking in a tub of water for the last 48 hours. So my first order of business after purchasing all the materials for this project was to let all this wood sit out so that it could get a little drier. And I spent about $70 for all the materials for this project, including this little hinge, which was about $25 that will self-close the door on this gate. And the $70 was actually cheaper than just one piece of this standard deck rail, which you'll see is very similar to what we're going to create. So let's head up to my house and take a look at what I'm currently dealing with on my back door. So the first thing that I need to do is to get rid of the step that's currently resting up against our back door. And surprisingly enough, this thing is only held in place with two L brackets and a couple of screws. Now, as we've lived in this house for a couple of years, I've come to realize that the previous owner liked to switch up the types of screws he used in his projects. In fact, when I demoed our back deck, I found 4 different types of screws, including Robertson screws, star screws, Phillips screws, as well as flathead screws, which are apparently called slotted screws from all the comments I get. But either way, as you can imagine, I had a few choice words for the previous owner when I was demoing that deck. With that step now removed, you can see how nasty it is underneath, filled with dog hair and probably a couple of mice nests. Now, instead of building this thing up at the house, I decided to take it down to the shop where all my tools are. And I'll have to admit, this thing was pretty darn heavy, and as you can see, it's pretty simply built. But even so, it's lasted quite a few years, as I'm guessing this was installed when the house was built, which is in 1999. Now, as I take some measurements to get the dimensions for these steps, I thought it might be interesting to go over a few rare dog facts that most people don't know. First off, let's talk about some of the superpowers that dogs have. Now, I had heard a few years ago that dogs can potentially smell diseases like cancer. But did you know there's been recent tests done that show that they can detect Parkinson's disease, low blood sugar, as well as seizures before they happen? And this is all done through the sense of smell, and this is a big reason why a lot of people have service dogs. In fact, their sense of smell is so strong that they can sense fear as well as emotional changes in people. And it's because of this sense of smell that even some pest control companies are beginning to incorporate dogs into their services, as dogs can preemptively even smell termites inside of walls before they cause a problem. And that sense of smell is so strong they can even smell underwater, which is great, I guess, for tracking. Now, as we get back to the project, you're probably noticing I'm cutting a lot of plywood here. And that's simply because instead of using 2x material to create the frame for this step, I'm going to use plywood instead. Not only will it make this whole assembly a little bit lighter, but it's also going to prevent it from moving on me with the change in seasons. With all that plywood cut to size, I can begin to lay out this step on my assembly table. And since this plywood is thinner than that 2x material, I'm going to add 3 braces right in the middle of this step, just to give it a little bit more support. And this gives me a perfect excuse to use one of my newest toys. Now, although this isn't the cheapest tool in the world, I'll have to say it has grown on me. I really like that you can just take this tool to your plywood and create all the pocket holes you need with very limited setup. And if you're interested in learning more about this tool, check out this video here as I do a full review on it. Now, since I've gotten this Kreg Rebel, I also picked up the Kreg Foreman, which I got for an unbelievable price of $250. And I even did another video comparing the Kreg Foreman and the Kreg Rebel so that you can make a decision on which tool is best for you. And both tools work great, it's just that Foreman takes a heck of a lot of space in your shop. While I create these pocket holes and begin to assemble this step, let's talk about some more interesting dog facts. Now, this first fact is really pretty interesting, as I've become quite a history buff lately. Did you know that ancient Egyptians mourned their dog's death in a pretty unique way? After their dog died, they would actually shave their eyebrows off to show the grief for their dog. which is a pretty funny way to mourn your dog. In our family, we actually plant a tree every time we lose a dog. Another interesting historical fact about dogs has to do with dogs in the medieval times. In the Middle Ages, mastiffs were actually used in battle. These dogs could be seen on the battlefield wearing spiked armor. These dogs were the ultimate version of intimidation, and they really protected their master in the battlefield. I can only imagine with their size and that spiked armor, they would deter a lot of enemies. Another interesting historical fact about dogs has to do with how dogs were used in the kitchen about 500 years ago in England. There was a breed of dog called turnspit dogs, and these dogs were specifically bred for rotisserie cooking in Britain. These dogs would simply walk on what resembled a large hamster wheel. These wheels would simply rotate your meat over a large open fire, making sure that all that meat was perfectly cooked. So I'm guessing that's what they used to do before you could buy a $5 chicken at Sam's Club. Now that I have the frame for this step built, I now want to create the top for it. And for this, I'm going back to those wet bananas that I got at Home Depot. These are simply treated deck boards that are about 8 feet long. And to make sure all these pieces were the exact same size, I simply set up a stop block and just made my cuts over at the miter saw. And even though I let these boards dry out for a day or two, they still had a little bit of moisture in them. Not to mention there was a little bit of tension in them, so I was a little bit worried about kickback. So I took it nice and slow and just made sure I made multiple cuts each time I cut through this wood. With all my pieces cut to size, I could begin to lay it out on that step frame. And once I had my spacing laid out accordingly, I could just pre-drill countersink and drive in a few screws to make sure that all these boards wouldn't move on me. Which was definitely needed because a lot of these boards were already starting to flex a bit. With the step now basically fully assembled, I could begin to start thinking about the railing that I'm going to put along this step. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to build this out from scratch, as the pre-made ones are just a little bit too expensive for my taste. As I can build these with just a couple of 2x4s, which is a fraction of the price of the pre-made railings, which are at $70 for a 4 feet span. So my first order of business is to create the spindles, which I'll just pre-cut over at the miter saw to get the appropriate length. While I cut some of these boards down to size, let's revisit some more dog facts. Let's talk about a few strange behaviors that you may see in your dog. Now, we used to have a Pomeranian that used to trample the ground and go in a circle before she would lay down every time she wanted to go to bed. I never actually realized it, but that's actually an instinct created by wolves thousands of years ago. Just like with other animals like bears, the trampling on the ground was to push down grass so that they could make a bed. Which makes a lot of sense, but why was she going in circles every time she did it? Well, believe it or not, that actually had a purpose as well. As these animals make a bed at night, they're also scanning the environment all around them, making sure there's no predators around them before they get some shut-eye. And ever wondered why they curl up in a ball every time they go to sleep? Well, there's actually a couple of reasons for that. Not only does it keep them warm on those cold nights, but it's also protecting all of their vital organs in case there is a predator that attacks them at night. And of course, you probably noticed it if you have a dog, but dogs do indeed dream. As I know our dog twitches all the time when she's fast asleep. With all of our spindles now roughly cut out, I now want to lay them out on what will be the railing for this gate. Now I could just leave them like this, but I want to jazz this thing up just a little bit. And this can very easily be done by just cutting a 45 degrees on both ends of each one of those spindles. And since that 45-degree angle won't interfere with the length of this board, I can use that same stop block that I used to cut these down, which makes the process of cutting all of these down at that 45-degree angle very easy and very quick. With all the spindles now cut to size and jazzed up a bit, I now want to space them out on that railing. And to make sure that I had even spacing for all these spindles, I just cut out a small piece of wood so that they're evenly distributed. And once I liked the way it looked, I simply pre-drilled and countersunk a hole in each one of the spindles on one end. Then I could drive a screw into the end of each spindle to secure it into place. And since I'm driving this screw into the end of each spindle, it's really imperative that I pre-drilled it, as this would just split if I drove in the screw without a pre-drill. With all the screws in place, I then want to take it and place it on the side of this step. And this is where I'm going to attach the bottom of those spindles. As you can see, I have a 2x4 that's raising those spindles just a little bit off the ground. With it raised up like this, I can pre-drill countersink and drive in some screws to secure this railing into place. And you'll see I'm still using that spacer just to make sure that everything is evenly distributed. And once I have one side done, I can repeat the exact same process on the other side, giving this step a railing on both sides of the step. And with the two railings in place, you can really begin to get an idea of what this thing's going to look like. And for me, this was enough work done on the first day, so I decided to call it a day and come back tomorrow. So yesterday, I had to step away from this project and think about how I wanted to make this door, and I also wanted to get my wife's input. Now originally, I had only intended a portion of this front area to be a spring-loaded door, but my wife wants the entire area to be that spring-loaded door, which presents a couple of challenges since the door will be so wide, but I think I've got a couple ideas that might work. So let's get started and see if I can get this thing finished up. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to add a little bit of material to the front so that I could add a hinge. And I wanted to make sure that this was very secure since this hinge will be holding a lot of weight, so I added a little bit of wood glue and clamped it into place. Then for good measure, just to make sure that this wood wasn't going anywhere, I pre-drilled and countersunk a couple of holes so that I could drive in a couple of screws. Then it was just a matter of getting a couple of measurements so that we can create that front railing which will act as the door. And this front railing or door will be built in the same way that those side railings were made. So over the years, I've had a variety of different types of dog breeds, from poodles to even shepherds. But there's some dog breeds that really have some unique characteristics that really set themselves apart. Did you know there's a dog that actually doesn't bark but yodel? This dog breed is called Basenji. This dog was actually bred in Africa near the Congo. The purpose of this dog was to actually flush game out through the jungle without barking. Instead of barking, it would actually yodel or talk to their owner instead of creating a bark which could scare the game. Speaking of Africa, a lot of us think of the cheetah being one of the fastest land mammals on Earth. But did you know greyhounds are right behind cheetahs? Greyhounds are known to run as fast as 45 miles per hour, which means that they can outrun racehorses at short distances, which is a pretty amazing athletic feat. But how smart can dogs be? Well, one of the smartest dog breeds available is the Border Collie. Border Collies have been known to memorize at least 1,000 words from their master, which means if you have one of these breeds and it's ignoring you, it's probably intentional. And finally, what about the Newfoundland? Did you know that these dogs actually have partially webbed feet? These dogs were actually bred to have these webbed feet, as they were originally bred to be great swimmers, and they were commonly used to rescue drowning sailors from icy waters. Now that we have all the spindles cut out for that front gate, let's get into assembly. And this will kind of follow the same process that we did with those two side rails. The first step is to pre-drill and countersink a hole for all the screws that will attach to the railing. Then we can slowly add the spindles to that top railing, which is simply clamped into place for the time being. And once again, I'm using that spacer just to make sure that everything is spread out evenly. Once I've connected all of the spindles to the top railing, I now want to attach it to that bottom railing. And this is once again done by simply pre-drilling, countersinking, and driving in a screw. And once everything's in place, I can then begin to add the hinge. And for this process, I'm using one of the self-centering drill bits that makes sure that that screw is perfectly aligned in the hole of the hinge. Then it was just a matter of hand tightening in the screws into that hinge to make sure that everything was secure. And with the top hinge in place, I could then move on to the bottom hinge, which is on the bottom railing. And once I hand tighten the screws into place on this hinge, I could then move on to testing the hinges out. And this is where I'm going to find an issue that I thought might occur. As you can see, as I open the door, since this door is so long, it actually droops about an inch down. So it was back to Home Depot to pick up some new hardware. This is simply a cabling system that creates tension between two corners of that door. By creating that tension, it actually pulls the corner of that door up so that it's completely even. But as you can see, this hardware is going to interfere with how this door closes. So it was time to break out that oscillating multi-tool to clear away some material so that this door would close properly. Then by twisting this latch on the cable, I could increase that tension so that that door would close perfectly. After that, I could trim away the excess cable so that there's just that wire in between the two corners. Now originally I bought this spring-loaded door closer to automatically close the door on this gate, but I really couldn't find an easy place to install this, so I reverted back to the good old-fashioned spring. So I'll just install a hook and an eyelet so that I can attach this spring to not only the door but also the side railing. And this is where this Mousecraft hook driver really comes in handy, as it just makes installing those hooks a heck of a lot easier. Then I could take the spring and loop it over the hook on the side railing. And for the door, I attached a carabiner to that spring and hooked it into place. And with that spring in place, you can see it provides plenty of spring back to keep that door closed. which is good news because I think our dog Emma might try to make a run for it every once in a while. And with that, the construction of this doggy gate was complete. So I returned the doggy gate up to the house, and my wife was gracious enough to volunteer to paint it. She just might need a little bit of coaching on her camera angles. But with it all painted up and installed, you can see how secure this gate actually is. And that door closes just about perfectly now. It will just need a couple of rubber pads to soften the blow when it closes. And even Emma agrees that this gate will do just fine. Not to mention, it's a heck of a lot easier to get in and out of the house without having the dog get inside. Well, that was a lot of fun and honestly not that hard to put together. I really enjoy doing projects like this where you can kind of design as you go and come up with your own creative ways to solve a problem. And although not perfect, it does solve a real life problem that me and my family were having. Before we close out today's video, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and share this video. And let me know if you like videos like this. And if you haven't checked out my website already, go to FlynnDoggWoodwork.com, where you can get access to all sorts of fun woodworking accessories like all the t-shirts that I wear in my videos. And I've just released some new models of shirts. And just like always, I'll be sure to leave links to any of the tools that I used in this video in the description below. And last but not least, if you'd like to support this channel even further, check out my channel memberships where you get early access to all my videos as well as one member only video a week. Until next time, take care as always.